A calculator is going to be a necessity, so if you didn't get a calculator, you probably should get up and get one. Okay, so we can multiply radicals if they have the same root index. And if you remember from last Monday, the root index is the little number on the radical. Okay? If there's not a number there, it's a square root. If there is a number, then you could have a cube root, fourth root, something like that. Okay, you have 3 steps. The first one is you're going to multiply the numbers on outside you're also going to multiply the numbers on the inside. And then the third step will be to simplify. So the only thing that's new from this week, from last week, is that you have to multiply outside numbers together and inside numbers. And then you just simplify it just like you did Monday through Thursday last week. Okay, example 1. And if you want to know, we got 10 examples to get through. Some easier than others. For instance, the first one. Okay, so if we talk about multiplying, there's no numbers on the outside. So all you have to do is multiply your 2 numbers on the inside. 2 times 5 is 10, so we have the square root of 10. Now, the next step, or the third step, is to simplify. So if I have 10 and I factor tree it, do I have any pairs that I can pull out? No, so you are finished. The square root of 10 is your answer. Okay. Number 2, if we have the square root of 8 times the square root of 32. What's 8 times 32? 256. Okay, so we need to factor 256. It's however you see 256, but you could just use the 2 numbers that you multiplied if you'd like. Go ahead and factor that. Maybe not.
Hi, Sandy. That's all right. He is not in class. Sometimes he goes out to the office. So you might want to check that. Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so 256, how are we going to break that down? 8 and 32 or 8 and 32? And so 8 would be 2 and 4. 4 would be 2 and 2. 32, 4 and 8. Okay, 4 would be 2 and 2. 4 and 2, 2 and 2. Okay, so lots of 2's on this one. So if I highlight all my leaves, okay, I want pairs. So here's a pair of 2's. Here's a pair of 2's. Here's a pair of 2's. And here's a pair of 2's. So how many 2's are you going to pull out on the outside? How many? 4, because I circled 4 groups, right? And you pull 1, 2 out from each group. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4 2s out there. Does that mean that's the number 2,222? What do I do with those numbers? You multiply them. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. What? Yep, it's just 16. Okay, number 3, the square root of 5 times the square root of 75. Multiply 5 times 75. 375. Okay, what are 2 branches off of 375? 5 and 75. You can go to the 2 numbers that you just multiplied if you like. A branch off 75, so 2 numbers that will go into 75. Okay, so 5 and 15. And then 15 would be 5 and 3. Okay, so my leaves, I have 5, 5, 5, and 3. Do I want pairs or do I want groups of 3? I want pairs because this is a square root. So on the outside, I'm going to put a 5. And on the inside, what do I have to do with the 5 and the 3 that's left? Multiply and get, so you get 5, the square root of 15. Again, the only new part is, can you multiply numbers today? After that, it's a simplifying, just like what we did last week. Okay, 4. The cube root of 4 times the cube root of 16. So don't forget the root index, and we're going to have the cube root. 4 times 16 is 64. How do you want to break down 64? 8 and 8. 8 would be 2 and 4, and 4 would be 2 and 2. Okay, now, how many do I want in my group now? 3, because of the root index here. So I make those groups. What goes on the outside? 1, 2 from each group. So I have 2 times 2, which is 4. The cube root of 64 is 4. Okay, 5. The cube root of 9 times the cube root of negative 81. The answer is just 4 because I don't have anything left over in my tree. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so 9 times negative 81. Negative 729. What do I do with the negative? Move it to the outside. Why can I do that? Because it's a cube root. Okay, 729. 2 numbers that will go into 729. 9 and 81. 9 will be 3 and 3, and 81. And each 9 would be 3 and 3. Okay, how many need to be in each group? 3. So on the outside, along with my negative, what number will be out there? 9. 3 times 3 is 9. Number 2, number 4, number 5 are all perfect radicals. So that's the reason why they just come out to a whole number. Okay, we're on 6. Okay, we have the cube root of 6 times the cube root of 16. 6 times 16. I hear somebody saying it, 96. Okay, how do we want to break down 96? 6 and 16. 6 would be 2 and 3. How are we going to break down 16? Okay, I heard 4 and 4 first, so each 4 would break down to 2 and 2. Okay, how many do I need to put in my group? 3. So here's one group of 2's. So what goes to the outside? A 2, the cube root of, what do I do with the numbers that are left over? Meaning I have a 2, a 3, and another 2. What do I do with those numbers? Multiply. So it's 2 times 3 times 2. To the cube root of 12. Okay, are we good? Those are mainly like the ones we did on Monday after we multiplied. Okay? So the next 4 are going to be like ones we looked at on Wednesday, meaning that they will have variables. So I'll let you write that down. And I'm going to put a hint here. Okay, so when you multiply, obviously you got 8 times 3. Pretty sure we can all handle that one in our calculator or without. We get 24. Now, I have x to the 5th and I have an x. When you multiply, that's going to become x to the what? 6th. Why? Right, so the hint is that you add exponents. So 5 plus 1 is 6. That's where that comes from. And now we just need to simplify that. So if I break down 24, 24 will be, okay, I heard 2 and 12 first, but 6 and 4 works, 3 and 8 works. 12 would be 2 and 6, and 6 would be 2 and 3. Doesn't matter how you broke it down, you still should have the same leaves at the end. I want pairs. So here's a pair of 2's. So on the outside I'm going to have 2. On the inside I have 2 times 3, so that would be 6. X to the 6th. Now, who remembers how I pull out those variables? Okay, so we can draw it out if we'd like. So I have 6 x's. If I make groups or pairs, how many pairs did I make? 3. So on the outside I would have 2x to the 3rd, the square root of 6. The other way we did that is we took the exponent and we divided by our root index 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. That's where the 3 came from. However you want to do it. Either way. Okay, so on 8, it has numbers on the outside and numbers on the inside. So if you go back to our rules, what's on the outside you multiply, what's on the inside you multiply. Okay, so if I have 4, the square root of 2x, times 5, the square root of 6x. If I multiply on the outside, 4 times 5, 20. The square root, if I multiply on the inside, 2 times 6, 12, and x times x is x squared, because this is 1 plus 1. Okay? You saw things like this last week. So if I ignore the 20, I need to factor 12. 12 will factor to 6 and 2. That's all right. I think somebody said 6 and 6, but that's okay. And 6 would be 3 and 2. What can I pull out of there? A 2. So this would be 2 with what left over? A 3. Now, if I have x squared, that means I have 2 x's. How many pairs can I make? 1 pair. So that's 1 x on the outside. Now, what do I do with that 20 that was already out there? I multiply it. So I'm going to multiply that by the 20. So 20 times 2 is 40x, the square root of 3. Okay, I'll give you a chance to write that down and look at it and see what you can come up with. Multiplying. If nothing else, just do your factor tree. Okay, so if I multiply on the outside, what number will I have? 3 times 2. 6. The cube root on the inside, 5 times 50. 250. Y to what power? 7. Good. 3 plus 4 is 7. Okay, 250. What are 2 factors of 250? 10 and 25. Work. 10 would be, and 25. Okay, do I need, or how many need to be in my group? 3 to my group. So I got a group of 5. So I'm going to do what? With that group of 5, I'm going to pull the 5 out. And then I'm going to have a 2 left over on the inside. Right, multiply the outside by 6, so now I have 30 on the outside. And now I have to worry about this y. I have 7 y's. And if I make my group of 3, I'm going to have how many groups? 2. So y squared on the outside. Do I have any left over? Yes, I do. 1y on the inside. Okay, last one.
Where am I gonna put this?
It looks long, but it's really. Oh, yeah.
Is there a reason why you didn't do Math Excel last week? Just didn't do it. We had 2 days to do it, so that's... Okay. Okay, so if we multiply on the outside, what are we going to have? 10? And on the inside, 2 times 2 is 4, x to the 4th, y to the 7. So if I factor 4, I can pull out a 2. So what's 10 times 2? 20. Do I have anything left over on the inside? Number-wise? No. Okay. X to the 4th. I have 4 x's. So how many groups can I make? 2 of them. So on the outside, I'm going to have x squared. And then I have 7 y's. How many pairs can I make? 3 pairs. So on the outside, I'd have y cubed. And what's left? Just a y on the inside. That one looks more difficult than what it is.